Go back here. Okay, well now it says I'm live. I just rambled for like 5 minutes thinking I was live, but apparently it wasn't live. So now we're live. Oops. Okay, let me know in the chat if everything sounds correct. There's no echo or anything like that. It should be good. I checked it beforehand. And I guess what I just talked about for 5 minutes was all a test run because we weren't actually live. It said streaming on OBS, but it didn't say streaming on YouTube. Oh well. Okay, we're in it now. So, okay. Let me figure out exactly where I was a second ago. Okay, so Dead Reckoning. That's what we're doing right now, is Dead Reckoning. This is episode 1 of Dead Reckoning. Welcome. What is Dead Reckoning? Well, Dead Reckoning is a nautical term. Commandeer, it's a nautical term. And a dead reckoning is where you are traveling in the sea and you estimate your location, your fix, via the time of which you've been traveling, the speed at which you've been traveling, and the direction at which you've been traveling. You take those three things, you combine the information, you look at the charts, and you go, I think we're here, and that is your dead reckoning. That is not your fix. That is not exactly where you're located. It's a dead reckoning. So what does that have to do with this show? Well, we are going to be doing exactly that in this video and some upcoming videos about different quote-unquote conspiracy theories. Go down the rabbit hole, as they say. We will do a dead reckoning to figure out where are we located on the map according to the information that we have. We will take in that information, use the brain that God gave us, and make a determination of where we believe we are. Official narrative or not official narrative is irrelevant because God gave us a brain to think. So that's what we're going to be doing, is going down the rabbit hole, the NASA rabbit hole, today. And you guys say, Dylan, you're a sailor. What? This is a sail, it's travel sailing. What are you doing talking about NASA and conspiracies? Well, if you remember, a little while ago, I posted a video about this fantastic card game. And I like conspiracies as a form of entertainment. And I find them quite interesting. And the way that YouTube works, the way the algorithm works, is that it wants you to stay niche. It wants you to stay on one topic. If you deviate from that topic, it penalizes the channel. That's actually one of the reasons why I created two channels, Florb, and this one, Florb with the tiny houses and van life and alternative styles of living, and this one with the sailing and travel, because if you've been around, then you know that for a while I was posting travel and sailing content on Florb, but it was affecting negatively the overall analytics of the channel because the channel was now split into multiple different directions. Now that's cool and all for algorithms, but if I don't want to have like 50 different channels because I'm interested in a lot of different things, then I want to put them all on this channel and expand and explore different topics. So that's what we're going to do in this live. I've got multiple different ideas for topics to discuss on live, not just conspiracy, not just dead reckonings. I have some other series ideas, whether it's around books, philosophy, sailing, explorers, all sorts of different ideas. So if you don't like this one, maybe you'll like the next one. If you don't like the next one, maybe you'll like the one after that. And if you don't like any of them, well then I'm still going to be posting the sailing videos and the drones and all that kind of stuff. So there's things here for everybody. And okay, so Dead Reckoning episode 1, we're talking about NASA. Good to see you all in the chat, and hope you enjoy the show. Be sure to be commenting in the chat because I've got it up right here in front of me. But let's go ahead and dive into it. So let's take a step over here. Now, wait, why is it? What? Hang on. Why is it showing? No. Is it showing the right screen right now? And I gotta wait for the live to catch up. because on my one screen it's showing one thing, on my other screen it's showing something else, and on this screen it's showing something third. So, yeah, why is it showing JFK? I don't have JFK up right now. OBS, what are you doing? What? Why is it showing JFK? I don't even have him up right now. Okay, well, let's see. I was going to start with the JFK clip, but then I was going to start with going into what NASA is. Okay, it's not even playing that. What the hell, bro? This was working like 30 seconds ago. Oh my god. Hang on a second. Screen capture, screen capture. Why is it still showing JFK? Okay, now JFK's up. Okay, now it's working. Now I just gotta scale that. Hang on a second. Transform. Fit to screen. That's not fit to screen, bro. What is going on? Okay, let's see if I cut that off. Okay, that one's not it. This one. But why is it not fit to... Bro! This is what happens whenever you do stuff live. Okay, there we go. We're going to do it like this. Okay, so what is NASA? Well, NASA is an American space agency, an aeronautics agency. You can see right here. And, well, you can't see right there because my head's in the way. Oh, my God, bro. Okay, there you go. Aeronautics Agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Agency, NASA, National Aeronautics Space Agency. That's what NASA means. Now, what does NASA do? Well, apparently they went to the moon. They took us to the moon in 1969. They live streamed from the moon. They went to the moon through the Apollo 11 missions and never went again. And what else did they do? I guess they put satellites up into the space. They got the International Space Station. They conduct science up in the International Space Station. They had the what was it called? Oh my god, the one that launches off and lands again. The I got it written down here. The space shuttle. The space shuttle. They had that for a while, and then they retired that. They were using that to go up and back from the ISS. So let's go ahead and start off with what I think is one of actually the greatest speeches ever, which is JFK, the legend that got murked by a country that shall not be named. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now it's fit. Okay, so let's start with this.
There is no strife, no prejudice. There is no strife.
Can you hear that in the chat?
There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the...
Can we just stop that for a second? He said there is no conflict in space as of yet. And as we know, under Donnie, Mr. Ziodan, his first time in office, he created the space agency, the Space Force, which Justin, he said, is quite something. I don't actually know too much about the Space Force. If you know, drop me some knowledge. I'm reading the chat as we're doing this, but he said there's no conflict in space as of yet. That's an interesting thing to say back in 1962. Is he assuming there will be conflict? I guess the way the governments work is they take war everywhere. But let's continue this.
Conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. And its opportunity for peaceful cooperation may never come again. But why, some say, the moon?
Why the moon?
Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
Not because it's easy.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
Honestly, it's like one of my favorite speeches ever given by a president, even though we're gonna dive into the whole moon landing here in a minute. But JFK was awesome, man. It's a bummer that he got shot in the head. But I guess that's what happens whenever you try to stop getting a certain country from getting nukes. Okie dokie. So yeah, he was, I mean, honestly, a lot of people say he was like our last real American president, and I think that might be true. I haven't done that deep dive into JFK's whole presidency and his whole life. Of course, he's part of royalty, right? He's the part of the Kennedy royal family, and now we've got his nephew in office taking food dye out, which is cool. But he also, like, yeah, he's kind of backpedaled on some stuff. But he was one that actually tried to stand up. And I mean, if you go throughout history of all the presidents that have been murked, then you find some things in common with all of them, and it all has to do with a certain country. Okay, so that was the declaration, right? 1962. He said that we're going to go to the moon. Let's look up something else. What is now my keyboard not working? When was Sputnik launched? Sputnik was put into space in 1957, right there, 1957. So we've got Sputnik, 1957. We've got his speech, 1962. And then they landed on the moon, when? In 1969. That is 13 years after Sputnik, after the first ever, I didn't mean to click on that, after the first ever satellite in space. Come on, bro. After the first ever satellite in space, it only took them 14 years to land on the moon. This is back in the 1950s and 60s, before the internet, before phones. You know, they say like the computers that put the astronauts on the moon had like 5 megabytes of RAM or something like this. Like, this is literally like over 1,000 times more powerful than the computers they used to put them on the moon. But it only took them 14 years, okay? 14 years from nothing in space, nothing, the first ever satellite, to this.
This Neil, radio check. Neil, this is Houston, loud and clear. Break, Buzz, this is Houston, radio check and verify TV circuit breaker in. Roger, TV circuit breakers in. Page 5 clear. Roger.
Oh, they say live streaming from the
TV.
moon.
You got a good picture, huh?
Straight up live
there's a great deal of contrast in it, and currently it's upside down on our monitor, but we can make out a fair amount of detail.
A fair amount of detail? Bro, I can't see anything. What are you talking about, a fair amount of detail?
Okay, would you verify the position, the opening I ought to have on the camera?
All right, bro, get to walking. Okay, so that's the camera that they say is on the door. So whenever they opened up the lunar lander, there was a camera on the door, and that's this feed. And I guess they just flipped it around because it was upside down.
There's that foot coming down.
There he is. There's a foot coming down the step.
Live from the surface of the moon. Live. We're live now. This is 2025, and we're live. And I mean, it's because it's digitally recorded, it's all a digital feed. But this, remember, 1969. So the way they did this is it was still film. Like, you got to understand, they were still using film. So they recorded it on a film camera on that door, and then that film was digitalized, sent via an analog signal from the moon to Houston, and then Houston, they simulcasted it to the live media. And what's interesting about this is this foggy ass footage where you can't see anything is not the original footage. This is a recording, a recording of the recording of like a twice removed recording. That's why it's so foggy, and we'll get into that in a minute in a article which talks about that.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
Can you see him now? I guess.
Okay, I just checked getting back up to that first step. It's that isn't collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up. Roger, we copy. It's a pretty good little jump.
I get to the famous.
So there's a foot on the moon, stepping down on the moon. If he's testing that first step, he must be stepping down on the moon at this point.
Woo! First steps on the moon.
Buzz, this is Houston. F2, 1/160th second for shadow photography on the sequence camera.
Get to the famous statement.
Okay. I'm at the foot of the ladder. The lamb footpads are only
Oh, so he hasn't stepped on the moon yet.
depressed in
There
the
we go.
surface
That's a bit
about
more clear.
1 or 2 inches. Although the surface appears to be very, very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. Ground mass is very fine.
Boy, look at those pictures. Wow. It's a little shadowy, but he said he expected that in the shadow of the lunar module. Armstrong is on the moon. Neil Armstrong, 38-year-old American, standing on the surface of the moon on this July 20th, 1969.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Greatest human
that was Neil's
achievement
quote. I didn't understand.
in human history. Greatest achievement in human history, right there. You just saw it with your own eyes. How do we know it's the greatest achievement in human history? What is the greatest achievement of mankind? Putting a man on the moon. Look at that, right? First one. The greatest achievement in human history is putting a man on the moon. You just saw it yourself. That was live. 1969, December 20th. Is that what he said? There you go. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And apparently, that wasn't what he was scripted to say. That's not what he meant to say. He meant to say one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind, but he fumbled it, and apparently that's why he paused. But you've seen it, folks. They live streamed the greatest achievement of humankind from the moon in 1969. So why are we talking about this, Dylan? Well, I don't know, maybe because we never went back. And it's only been like 50 years. Over 50 years, and we still haven't gone back. And more than that, not only have we not gone back, some more interesting things have happened. NASA. Like what, Dylan? What happened? Well, how about the fact that the original tapes aren't in existence? They don't exist. The original telemetry tapes from the Apollo missions don't exist. And I'm not just talking about that first ever landing. I'm talking about all of Apollo 11. Every single mission, the telemetry tapes don't exist. The greatest achievement of humankind, and there's not a shred of original evidence. Are you kidding me? I was talking to a friend about this, and not to put him on blast, I'm not going to say his name, but he said the fact that they were missing was not even remotely suspicious. And I was like, what? That, like, what do you mean that's not suspicious? Of course, it's the greatest achievement of humankind, bro. And you're saying the fact that all the originals were destroyed is not suspicious at all? Like, bruh, give me a break. Well, let's go into this, shall we? Because, it's quite the doozy. So, the Apollo 11 missing tapes. Let's do a little bit more research here real quick. How many missions in Apollo 11? Apollo 11 missions. Apollo 11 was a single mission. The Apollo program. So I made a mistake before. I said all the Apollo 11 missions. I mean, the whole Apollo program. They don't have any of the originals. The Apollo program, also known as Project Apollo. And isn't that an interesting name if you know anything about Esoterica? Like, who is Apollo? Apollo, if you don't know, is a Greek god. Well, can I show that? Because he's got his little weenie out. Anyway, Apollo is the sun god in Greek mythology. And if you know, and if you've been down any of the rabbit holes, and you know that a lot of these things end up pointing in similar directions using similar symbolism. Like, you know, I used to just think that it was like synchronicity, coincidence, whatever you want to call it, with the Odyssey mission. You know, that movie with Tom Hanks that replicates the Apollo Odyssey mission where he goes out and then something breaks and he's like 13 days from the moon and freezing his balls off and has to slingshot around the moon and barely makes it back, and it's like, wow, they named the ship Odyssey, and like he went through an Odyssey just like Odysseus and almost died, and it was crazy, bro. I mean, maybe it happened, I don't know, but there's no original, so I can't prove it and you can't prove it either, because there's no originals. But anyway, so the Apollo, how many missions were in the Apollo program? "17 missions. 11, 12, 14. The crewed lunar missions include 11 to 17. So there are 17 missions. Additionally, other missions did not land on the moon. Apollo 8, which was the first crewed flight to the orbit of the moon. Apollo 4 and 6, uncrewed flights. Testing the Saturn V rocket. Another interesting Saturn. Name for a rocket. It's not like it went to Saturn. Why didn't they call it the moon rocket? I don't know. They called it the Saturn V. The Saturn V. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 manned missions to the moon. Okay. So let's go back to the Apollo 11 missing tapes. So the rabbits don't kill us. Remember, the further you go down the rabbit hole, the more silent the tea becomes. The Apollo 11 missing tapes. Also, they were talking about, like, Elon Musk was, he did, you remember whenever he did that event, I think it was like in 2018 or 2019, where he brought out that Asian dude and was like, this is an Asian billionaire and we're gonna slingshot him around the moon in like 2 years or something. Yeah, that never happened. And now they were talking about going to the moon again recently, but then with his like spat with Trump was like, yeah, we're now defunding SpaceX, and then Musk was like, I'm decommissioning my rockets, and it's like, so what happened to like all the moon? Like, are we now delaying the moon again? Like, bro, what is going on? Okay, so the Apollo 11 missing tapes were those that recorded the Apollo 11's slow scan television, as not all it recorded, telecast in its raw format on telemetry data tape at the first time of the moon landing in 1969 and subsequently lost. The data tapes were used to record all transmitted data, video as well as telemetry. Telemetry being all of the navigational data that they had, right? So let's just search. What is telemetry? Telemetry is an automated process of measuring and wirelessly transmitting data from remote sources. Data from space. Refers to information collected with spacecraft transmitted back to Earth for monitoring analysis. This includes measures of space status, fuel levels, temperature, engine speed, position information. So that means orientation, distance, speed, everything like that. Excuse me. Pardon me. Telemetry is a subset of spacecraft data, which encompasses all data that is inside the spacecraft at some point, whether it is stored, transmitted, or in a transitional state. So that is what was on those tapes, right? It was not only the television footage, it was also all of the navigational footage, everything that was being transmitted from the spacecraft to Earth live, all that information has subsequently been lost. No one would have read rocket called Uranus. That's true. I mean, today's day and age, you never know. You never know. They could have put a little Nas X on it. To broadcast, blah, 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 blah. Background. Okay, so this is the wiki page of it. We're not going to read that whole thing because, come on, bro. But what we are going to look at is there are two other things we're going to look at. So we got the search for Apollo 11 SSTV tapes, which that means slow scan television tapes, 21st of May 2006. This one I haven't actually read before, so we'll go through that in a second. But then this one here I think is the more important one, because this is the one that comes directly from NASA. This is their official report. The Apollo 11 telemetry data recordings, a final report from NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration. You got, Apollo 11. Scroll down. We're not going to read the whole thing. Don't worry. I'm not going to bore you to death. Final report credits, Apollo 11 search team, NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, Apollo 11 search team. So just by looking at this, right, final report credits, you can see that the whole search was an internal process. There were no third-party external companies that came in and audited NASA. This was an internal process. That's very important. Honeysuckle Creek Tracking Station, Australia. Retired, John Saxon. Mike Lloyd, tape processing, Sam Verga. BBC post-production. So it's very important to note that this is an internal report. There was no third-party investigation, which you would think, considering how much did the Apollo programs cost? Considering that it cost $25.4 billion when adjusted for inflation, that's about $257 billion. And that's 2020. This is 2025. Inflation's already almost doubled. No, maybe not doubled. I don't know. Add another 10% to that. That's also crazy, bro. It would 25 billion is now 257 billion. That's 10. Oh my God, that's crazy in just 55 years or whatever. That's nuts, bro. What is going on with this country? But you would think if they spent 257 billion tax dollars and lost the original footage to verify that the mission even happened, you would think there would be some people coming in from the outside going, yo, guys, what the... Oh, I just realized that this wasn't even in line. So you can even see that. But 24, 25.4, 25, 257 billion. You would think that there'd be guys coming in going, what the have you guys been? Where did it go? We spent almost $300 billion. What is the annual military budget in USA? $1 trillion. We spent a third of the military budget on this project, and you're telling me you guys just lost the originals of the greatest achievement of humankind? Bruh. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Let's take a operational scientist. I don't actually know who this guy is. Like I said, I haven't actually read this report. Oh, come on, bro. Oh, that's right. My copy. Paste. Who? What does it? That's all that comes up. Who is this guy? At Asian. Who is this guy that wrote this? Sorry, the page you're looking for cannot be found. What do you mean it can't be found? Who is this dude that wrote this article? Apollo founder and editor. Who? Why is there not a wiki on this guy? There's no... What do you mean there's... The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be lighted. Plutarch. Hi, my name is John Sarkisian. I'm operational scientist at Cicero Park's Radio Observatory. My main responsibilities are the operation, assistance, development of radio telescope, and the remote support and training of astronomers with their observations. In addition, I am involved in pulsar research in exciting field of radio astronomy, as well as numerous outreach and public relations activities at Cicero Astronomy. So this dude's a guy that reads radio waves from space. All right, let's see what he says. Anyway, there's his contact information. He put it on the report. It's all over. Executive summary. For the past several years, a group of dedicated former oh my god, bro, learn how to read. A group of dedicated former Apollo 11 personnel have been searching for the original magnetic data tapes that contain the high-quality slow-scan TV Apollo 11 EVA. This report is a detailed justification for their efforts to date. So, real quick. May 21st, 2006. When was this one written? When was this written? Does this one not have a date on it? NASA, what are you doing not putting a date on your report? Okay, when was this report written? The Apollo 11 missing tapes final report date. Okay, Internet Archives. And this is in the Internet Archive because I don't know this, but I think you can't find this on NASA's website anymore. Okay, 2009. So NASA's report is written 3 years after John Sarkisane. July 1969, 3 tracking stations received the TV signals of the historic Apollo 11 EVA. They were the big antenna at Goldstone, California, another big antenna in Honeysuckle Creek, Australia, and a really big antenna in Australia as well. Signals were transmitted from the moon, and they were high-quality slow scan TV. Real quick, let's look up slow scan TV process. Is a method for picture. Is this still okay? Yeah, you can still read all that. Just make sure. Let me move this over a little bit. Oh, wrong one. Okay, yeah. Slow scan television is a method for picture transmission used by amateur radio operators to transmit and receive images. It is known as narrowband television and requires significantly less bandwidth compared to traditional analog television, which typically needs 6 to 8 megahertz of bandwidth. Slow scan usually only takes up 3 kilohertz of bandwidth. The transmission process involves scanning a static image from right to left, top to bottom, and transmitting the image in 3 primary colors. So that's why you see the bands going across the images in the old school, and every once in a while they miss one, right, like that. You'd have the interference in it because it was scanning it. But the way it's scanning the it starts as film, if I understand correct. Let's see if we can find process. From film. Oops. Bruh. Come on. Oh my gosh. Let's see what happens. We're not
Here, Radio DX. This is Grant Willis from the Amateur Radio Experimenters Group this evening. Well, I'm suspecting, I'm pretty sure there.
All right, show me how to do it, bro.
So we can see that as the transmission at the
here to help that out. And what it then does is it'll put.
Okay, that's not gonna work. Understanding silicon. Let's see. Scam Nation. Nice, bro.
Murphy, how do you like espionage?
Is that the language as a way a modem
Sure.
or a fax machine?
Extremely slow pornography, but
Whoa,
this
bro.
is the same technology from the 1950s. It's the technology that the Soviets used to transmit images of their dogs in space. The
Compromising my
US used it as well,
stream,
and we
man.
can use it today on our freaking iPhones. There's nothing more ridiculous and awesome to me than the idea of using the height of 21st century technology in order to replicate 1950s tech.
Exactly. It actually makes me think of how you obfuscate something by going backwards. Much like in World War II, one of the most impenetrable methods of communication that the Allied forces used was
The Navajo language.
code talking.
Yes.
Yeah. Traditionally, people have colors at all.
Because this is audio based, it doesn't matter if it's ham radio, shortwave radio, over the telephone. In this case, we're using these cheap $20 UHF transmitters. So the app we're using is just called SSTV, and I just started the app, and this is what our speech right now looks like. Because I'm going to be holding the iPhone up to the walkie-talkie. If there's any kind of like
Is this what we're looking for?
Echo 7, don't go out past the first marker.
I don't.
Echo 7 Echo Ace. As I walk along, it occurs to me that this is my actual neighborhood, and a lot of people are watching a grown-ass man pretend to be a spaceman.
Echo Base to Echo 7, when has that ever stopped you?
I am far away from each other, because I can imagine. I cannot see any man-made structures. I'm going to imagine that I'm on...
Okay. Here we go.
1.
Bro, what are you guys doing right now? What am I doing watching this video right now?
I received the image. I am attempting to alter the phase and skew so I can figure. Oh, you mother. God damn it!
Okay, so he sent him an image.
Echo 7 Echo Base, it appears you sent me a picture of me with French fries stuck up my...
1.
But where did he get that
5.
image from? Did he... Was it already digitalized? Ugh. Anyway. The point I was trying to get at is, from what I understand, they started with film, digitalized the film, and then send it through this slow scan process. And then reconverted it back to film or sent it out in broadcast. When received on Earth, they were scan converted to commercial TV standards before being broadcast to the public at large. The scan converted TV signals from each of the 3 stations when they relayed via landline, microwave relays, geosync, blah, blah, blah. General broadcast signal as sent from the moon was initially degraded by the scan conversion process, producing lower resolution images and introducing additional signal noise. That's why that one, the video that we saw of him stepping on the moon looks so shit. Also, the transmission of the scan converted TV to Houston caused additional signal degradation. This low quality TV is currently all that is available of Apollo 11. So, twice removed from the original. That's all we have left. Let's see, anything else interesting in this? Missing tape. These missing tapes include the raw Apollo 11 tapes. For the past several years, a search of these tapes has been undertaken by several former Apollo 11 personnel. To date, no Apollo 11 tapes have been found. When the tapes are found, it is hoped to recover the original high-quality footage. Spoiler alert, they were never found. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to read this whole thing. Polaroid image from Goldstone taken off a slow scan monitor showing how good the Goldstone pictures were. So to understand what this even means is that the only evidence we have of the moon landing are the rockets, some rocks, the land, like the gear, and these images. But these images were all received on Earth, right? So they were used a dish, received in the slow scan, and then that's what we have. So realistically, I really don't think this is even like too far out there to say. Like, how do we not know that those signals were not being beamed from somewhere else on Earth to these other dishes? How do we even know that they were receiving them from the moon? Well, the answer is we don't know, because there is no evidence. There is no proof. There is nothing. The only evidence they have of the moon landings are the equipment and some rocks. Equipment doesn't prove anything. Russia has tons of equipment. They never put a man on the moon. They've got spacesuits. They've got rockets. They've got all sorts of stuff. All sorts of other countries have moon rocks, apparently. And on the moon rock note, check this out. This is crazy. Dutch moon rocks fake. A moon rock given to the Netherlands by the United States was found to be petrified wood rather than an actual lunar sample. What? How the hell did they fuck that up? They tried to give, here, Netherlands, you guys don't have rockets. You don't have anything to make it to the moon yourself. Here's a little gift. Here's a moon rock for you. Psych! It's petrified wood. What, was there wood petrified? Were there trees on the moon? Is that what we're saying? Because if there are trees on the moon, that would be like type of. But nobody's even saying there are trees on the moon. The whole point of this is that they sent them fake moon rocks. The rocks tested in 2009 and found to be petrified wood, leading to an embarrassment for the museum. 2009. Well, that's interesting. What else happened in 2009? Oh, look at that. 2009. That's weird. Okay, so let's see. Oh, this is the surface camera. The backup lunar surface camera on display in the museum. So this is 10 frames per second. So what the film is in there. Oh, is this it? Is it inside? Yeah. Okay. There we go. This is what I want. Because of the limited power and bandwidth available in lunar monitor, moon, narrow band, blah, 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 super low frame rate, 11 converted as each frame it was received, displayed on the monitor, the game. Okay. Output of the camera was transmitted and simultaneously recorded on magnetic disc. The disc recording was then played back a further 5 times with the appropriate delay to shift the lines in the second field of each frame and transmitted. While the disc recorder was playing back, the monitor screen was blacked out and the next frame displayed to repeat the process. In this way, a 30 frames per second TV was produced. Lower resolution, and it introduced noise. That process degraded the image, right? But as we know, with live streaming, the footage you're seeing right now live is not the same that's being recorded in the camera because it's being transmitted. So even now today, 55 years later or whatever, there's still degradation in footage. It was upside down in the NASA. The pictures were also upside down. Austria removed the camera, plunged on the lunar surface, but it was right up again. Technique, inverted scan process, toggle switch. Received. Okay, it was went as the video and telemetry downlink was being received. It was recorded onto 1-inch magnetic tapes on the Mimcon M22. So recorders at a rate of 120 inches per second. These tapes had to be changed every 15 minutes for the entire period of the moonwalk. So let's look up what a 1-inch magnetic tape looks like, so we have an idea of what is going missing. Oh, look, it's 9/11. What, bro? My command key and control key are backwards, and I need to restart the computer, and it happened just before I went live, and I didn't want to restart the whole computer. No, not like that, bro. This is what it looks like. So kinda, we've all seen them in movies. You know, you got that big box with the 2 things, and it's got the, you know, it's basically like a giant cassette tape, and it's got the same type of film as like a cassette tape, like that black magnetic strip. But these are real physical tapes, and these are 1 inch thick, and the whole roll is about like that big. Why is it all construction stuff? I want to see it with a dude holding it, but they're like 14 inches wide or something like that. So upside down image, going to the toggle switch to reverse the image, that goes to here, which scan converts and sends it off. So then is that saying that that's the camera that was on the door? That's one of the things, like in the conspiracy world, they go, how did they even film that? And it's like they put the camera on the door, bro, and then when they opened the door, they were able to see it. So, like some of the things people in conspiracy land say, I just want to like, because it's so stupid. And it's like with the whole flat earth thing, you know, like the CIA infiltrated that group purposefully to make it seem super stupid so that nobody would even question anything related to it, and that's proven. But that's part of like the whole thing, is take any of these things that are being questioned that have real legitimate questions and make them sound as dumb as possible so that people just write it off and don't actually look into this. Because I've talked to people who are like super into space stuff and asked them about these types of things. They don't even know that this is like I said, one of my friends said it wasn't even strange that the tapes were missing. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not strange. It's like one of the strangest things ever. So there's them coming. So that's how big they are, right? So that's a dude. That's how big the tapes are. There we go. They're data tapes. Boxes containing data tapes. Scan converter rocket from breaks. Longevity of tapes kind of is crucial. Okay, we're not gonna realize. All right, let's move over to NASA's official report. And this one I kind of talked about a little bit in the card game video. So when they land on the moon in July 20th, didn't he say it was December 20th in this one? Hang on.
Stand. 8-year-old American standing on the surface of the moon. 8-year-old American. Armstrong is on the moon. Neil Armstrong. 38-year-old American standing on the surface of the moon.
Say the date, bro.
On this July 20th,
July
1960.
I just can't hear or shit. It was July, not December. That's my bad. July 20th. I think I said December before. July 20th, landed carrying small conventional television affixed to the door. We talked about that. The camera did its job. It recorded the landing. What most people did not realize, however, is the television footage they viewed was actually inferior to what ground station engineers saw as the raw footage arrived from the moon 250,000 miles away. Live streaming 1969 from 250,000 miles away. Telephone, was it that show me the phone. Nixon, the legendary Nixon, just called straight up from his desk to talk to the people on the moon 250,000 miles away. Meanwhile, I lose service. I don't even have service out here right now. I got Starlink and stuff, but the carrier place that's close to here actually burnt down the other week. And so my regular phone service doesn't even work out here right now. But Nixon called him on the moon 250,000 miles away 55 years ago. While the public saw blurry ghost-like images, the engineers working at NASA's tracking stations in California saw clear, crisp video. Okay, we already went through that. Fast forward to the present. Much has happened over the ensuing years. Today is hard to imagine life without internet, cell phones, and high-definition television. Innovations made possible by the revolution in digital technology. What was possible nearly 40 years ago, what was impossible nearly 40 years ago is now possible. The Apollo 11 telemetry tapes certainly provide a case in point. Using digital technology, technicians today could convert raw signals to high quality. Blah, 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 blah. There's that dude from the other report. This guy comes up later, Mr. Nafsker. Let's see if we can find a picture of this guy, because he comes up later in the report. Oh my god, bro. Also, take a flat earther over somebody about the Pleiadians. Yeah, I know some pretty smart flat earthers, and I know some really stupid ones. I've got a funny story about whenever I met my first ever flat earther back in the van. It's a different story for a different day. But W's in the chat, by the way, if you're enjoying. Richard Nafsker in oral history. I want to see this dude's face. I want to see Mr. Nafsker's face. This guy. This fucking guy. Remember this face. Remember this face. Oh, I didn't zoom in. Remember this dude's fucking face. Oh, come on, bro. Oh, is it not going to... Remember him. Nafsker. Richard Nafsker. That's how big the tapes that we're talking about. We're talking boxes and boxes and boxes of them. Okay? Hi, Mr. Nafsker. Nafsker. Okay. Back to NASA. So basically, they found in the early 2000s that the tapes were missing, and so they conducted an investigation to find them. Fully understand the loss of the telemetry tapes, one needs to consider the technology of the day and appreciate the fact that live broadcasts from remote locations were difficult. As if they're not difficult today. No one was even sure it could be done from the surface of the moon. So before we can even understand the fact that this technology is lost, let's just take a minute to acknowledge how fucking dope it was that they live streamed from the moon, bro. Given the importance of the Apollo 11 mission, however, mission planners understood the necessity of television. How about just the necessity of having footage? How about that? But they did not know whether a live broadcast technology was feasible. They stipulated that voice, telemetry, biomedical data, and television all share the same transmission link from an antenna on top of the lunar module, which, let's take a look at that. Lunar module. This thing. This is what landed on the moon, bros. This is what landed on the moon. This here is what landed on the moon. You see that? Do you see that? That. And where's the image when they're actually on the moon? Yeah, you would think that the tapes would have been preserved for historical reasons, considering it was the greatest achievement of mankind ever. Google it. That's what it says. We already did it. I want the one where on the moon. Show me the one with it on the moon. The official photo from the moon. Show it to me. Show it to me. This one. This one. There we go. That thing's great. So up here, one of these antennas is where all the data is coming from. This bad boy right here. Right there. A single antenna atop the lunar module. Consequently, the agency budgeted only 500 kilohertz of available bandwidth for television, far less than the 4.5 megahertz then used by the commercial broadcast television industry. Why did they budget so little? Did they budget so little because it didn't have to be sent that far? I don't know. To cope with the reduction in bandwidth, NASA hired Westinghouse Electrical Corporation in Baltimore. Why does Westinghouse Electric Corporation sound familiar? Westinghouse, that has something to do with Tesla. Is Westinghouse the one that robbed Tesla of his patents that had him sign it away, or was that JP Morgan? I don't know. We're not going to go down that route right now. Developed special television camera that used a non-standard scan format of 10 frames per second and 320 lines of resolution, compared with the U.S. standard television at 30 per second and 525 lines. So they created special TV or special camera television format, hired link satellites by the time by the time the images appeared on international, they're substantially degraded. But at that time, who noticed? Certainly not the hundreds of millions of people worldwide who sat mesmerized by the fuzzy images on their television sets. Mesmerized. But Labar, who managed to watch the camera, noticed. He noticed that they were shit. I kept thinking it just doesn't look as clear and crisp as I expected. What's going on here? From testing, he knew the camera was capable of producing good television despite the reduced bandwidth. But what he did not know, however, was that the converter used a form, basically degraded the Australian connection. Sorry, the dude that wrote the other thing. Blah, 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 blah. There's a lot in this. We're not going to go through the whole thing because we got other things to talk about. Provincial needle in the haystack. Looking back, Labar's first foray into the Westinghouse vast holding was like finding the proverbial needle in a haystack, he said. The Westinghouse personnel had printed the complete listing of Goddard accessories stored, including those for which the Goddard's recording department had no documentation after about 2 weeks, though he realized the futility of the task. Although he limited his efforts from 69 to 75 time frame, he listed accessory. The list of accessions for the magnetic tapes still involved tens of thousands of boxes. I realized this was going to take a lot of time. I needed a way to narrow down the search. We all agreed that to blindly recall tape boxes for examination would be an exercise in futility. First of all, let's scroll back to the top because I skipped one part of this paragraph. Here. In triumph of the day, no one on the tracking states considered these differences that talk about degradation, and that certainly the public was unaware. The engineers boxed the 1-inch telemetry tapes wound on 14-inch canister reels, which served no other purpose than to provide backup if the live relay failed, and shipped them to Goddard Space Flight Center. From there, the tapes were sent to Washington National Records Center in Suitland, Maryland. I said Westinghouse before for that, whatever. The engineers never saw the backup telemetry tapes again. So they used them to do the broadcast, they boxed them up, and they shipped them to storage. So you would think, as somebody so wisely said in this chat, that they would be preserved, but also you would think that they would have, I don't know, organized it whenever they stored it, had some sort of labeling system. It only cost $256 billion to do this mission, and they just packed it into boxes with no identifiable markers, no like, hey, this is the most historic data ever known to mankind, let's earmark this so that we know where to find it. No, none of that. So basically we get down to the end of this, and in case of the missing tapes, hindsight is indeed 2020. Had they known that they could do something with the footage today, then maybe they would have preserved it, is basically what they say. And look at this. In an era of slide rules, carbon copies, and computer punch cards, the lack of foresight is perhaps understandable. That is their excuse. That's their excuse. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, do you know what a slide rules is? One of these. A sliding ruler. And what was the other thing he said? Punch cards. Computer punch cards. And carbon copies. Carbon copies? Really? That's your... This is your excuse for why we don't have the original moon footage, is because of... My mechanic uses carbon copies, bro. In computer punch cards. That's the whole excuse. They're saying, you know, back in that day we used to do things like this, and you know, perhaps the lack of foresight is understandable. Actually, no, it's not understandable. Make it make sense, because it doesn't make sense. It's not understandable, actually. If anything, I would think that it would have been easier to keep track of it back then, because everything was real in the physical world. It's not like a file on a computer that you could accidentally delete whenever you wiped a hard drive. These are giant boxes of thousands of tapes, and they just say that they wrote them over or they got destroyed. And look at this, NASCAR. I told you this guy was going to come back up. They were telemetry tapes. It's as simple as that. NASA has always backed up mission data, and that's the role of these tapes played. In all honesty, I don't think they would have passed the test. The technology didn't exist to do anything with them other than what was already done at the time they were made. What does it even mean? I don't think they would pass the test. What test? And if you're wondering, like, is that explained? No. We're just giving that quote from this guy. Their telemetry today is as simple as that, you know, like, honestly, I don't think they would pass the test today. Like, what? What are you talking about? They include the footage of the original landing and all of the navigational footage. Like, what? What? That, dude. Yeah, it's not rocket science. It is, but it isn't. Anyway, so that's the missing telemetry tapes, which in my mind is like a giant red flag. Super suspicious. Like, how is that even possible? How is the only explanation we get an internal report where they just go like, yo, bro, shit was crazy back then, wasn't it? Like, we used to use like rulers. Yeah, wild. Anyway, they're gone. Like, I find that completely unacceptable. But according to some people, that is not suspicious at all. And we already talked about the Dutch rocks. So let's go down something else. So we talked about the NASA budget, right? NASA budget. The Apollo missions cost almost $300 billion. And we don't have the original. So we literally have zero proof that they happened. Literally zero. You can say the rocks, you can say the equipment, but like I said, that's not proof. It doesn't prove anything. Really. The only thing that could maybe prove it would be those telemetry tapes that don't exist. But let's look at this budget. Calendar year, percent of federal budget. No, I want dollars, baby. Show me dollars. How much have we spent? How much have we spent on NASA full life? The total amount spent on NASA over the entire history is approximately $1.2 trillion. Remember, we have to adjust a lot of that for inflation, so really it's at least $2 trillion. This sums up significantly less than, can't say that word, which is around 2.2 trillion. So is that trying to justify it? But what all does NASA actually, like, what are we getting for our money, right? Because these are tax dollars. It's not, NASA's a non-profit, right? It's a government agency. It's not like they're making money. But let's see. NASA CEO. Salary, that's what I want. $250,000. It's actually less than I thought it was going to be. Ooh, wow, 333,000 per year. That's a third of a mil. That's actually a lot less than I thought they were going to be making. But that's still a healthy amount of money. But what does NASA do with its money? I'm gonna crack a beer. Scientific research, technological development, and space exploration. So what do we get for the money, though? What humanity get from NASA? Benefits to humanity. They got to have a whole page dedicated to this because they know a lot of people are like, what is the point of you guys? Benefits to humanity. Let's see. The International Space Station. You don't just have like a list of things that you guys have contributed. There's two. What? Okay, International Space Station. Benefits. 15 ways. Benefits. Your orbiting laboratory. Seeing our home from a whole new light. Microbiology. Don't they say they develop like vaccines and stuff up there? Advancing human health. That hair. Bringing humanity along for the ride. Okay, so this one's a bullshit benefit. This one is a bullshit benefit. Space 24/7. Is that some more lab experiments? New frontier in physics, microgravity enables the universe, completely new lens, discovers fundamental knowledge, fluid behavior. So, growing the low Earth orbit economy as a platform used by small business. So, what if you got a private corp? You can send stuff up to the space station and have it tested. Is that true? How much does that cost? The space agencies that started for the International Space Station program, having more and more commercial partners in there shows to me that we are on a correct path. What? That's the whole article? Bro, it's a paragraph. Bro. As a platform used by small businesses, let me scroll this up. Researchers to test their science and technology in space. International Space Station for develop new and improved products, spawn new commercial ventures, providing growth for existing ones. It has expanded overall space industry, especially in the fields of robotics, small satellites, and in-space manufacturing. Much of this equipment and technology benefits Dude, that is a paragraph of nothing. Am I tripping here, or is that like literally saying nothing of importance? That's crazy. Okay, let's see if the rest of these are all one paragraph, because that would be wild. Your orbiting laboratory. Oh my god, bro. Or are these supposed to all be Expedition 1 kicks off science aboard International Space Station? Are these supposed to be the articles that explain what they do? The ISS is one of the ones that, like, I don't think it's all fake, because you can see it. Like, I've seen it. traverse the sky. But there seem to be lots of questions relating to it. And we're not gonna do this dissect every single thing that they do, because we'd be sitting here forever reading a bunch of boring shit. But let's just assume that they're doing a bunch of good stuff up there and that we're getting our money's worth. But we've spent $2 trillion adjusted for inflation on NASA tax dollars. Van Allen radiation belts. Oh, I want to bring up a clip that I don't know if it. Let me see if it's on YouTube, because for a while it wasn't on YouTube, and then I think it did end up on YouTube again. I had to go to BitChute for a while to find this clip, but Astronaut says technology is destroyed. This one.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. But going to Mars should be one of the next series of steps that humans do. The first step should be going back to the moon for a number of technical reasons and exploration reasons, and then after that, Mars, maybe high orbit in Venus atmosphere, maybe going to Europa.
Yeah, how about let's start with going back to the moon.
Targets to go to, places of interest in our solar system. The only limit to human future is in our own imagination.
Dude, did you? Oh my God! Look at that dude's face at the end of that. Did you see that?
Limit to human future is in our own imagination.
It's in our own imaginations, bro. Holy goodness. Yeah, he seems like the sharpest knife. He seems about as sharp as my gladius here, which is not, has yet to be sharpened. But I do have a gladius. So, yeah, Don seems like real genius, this one. Is he a Mason? Did you guys know that a lot of the... What? No, not Donald Penn. A lot of the astronauts are Freemasons. Did you guys know that? Three space flights, like more than 590 days in space. Is that why he looks like that? Is that why he spent too much time in space and is... Bro. The only limit is our imagination, bro. Alright, man. Relax. Is this dude a Mason, though? I know a lot of people keep that stuff secret, though, but... Why, thank you, Mr. Shroom. Mrs. Shroom? You a man or woman? Donald Roy Pennant. Early life, Oregon. He's an Eagle Scout. Hey, shout out, brother. Likewise. Eagle in the building. Maybe that's why he's got that face. He's spent too much time around chemicals. Let's take a search at this. List of astronauts who are Freemasons. Well, we're not watching that. It's an hour long. Buzz Aldrin, They're saying he's a Mason. Scottish Rite. Check out their own website. Miss Shroomy. Why, thank you, Miss Shroomy. From Buzz Aldrin to John Glenn, many notable astronauts and American heroes also belong to the world's oldest fraternity. And this is their own website. I assume this is they're like an official website. Scottish Rite, MJ. What does MJ stand for? Northern Masonic jurisdiction. John Glenn Jr. He's a 33 degree. Do you got one in the chat if you know anything about Masons? Do you know that in order to become a 33 degree, you must be selected? You can work your way up. Anybody that joins can work their way up to 32 degrees. Anybody. You can just do the work and get up to 32 degree. But to become a 33rd degree Mason, you must be chosen. You must be selected, because the structure of Freemasonry is a filtering process. That's what it's there for. It filters people so that they can decide and select which ones they want. But so you know, anybody who is a 33 degree was selected and chosen to be a 33 degree. Chosen by who? A council, blah, blah. I don't know the specific people. You'd have to look into each person, which lodge they were a part of, all that type of stuff. Because there are some 33s that I like what they say. Like Manly P. Hall. I'm a big fan of Manly P. Hall's content, but this is crazy, actually. Manly P. Hall, do you guys know who Manly P. Hall is, or am I just rambling about stuff you guys don't know about? Manly P. Hall, he wrote a cool book that I've got, which maybe I can show you guys sometime on stream. It's a big book. It's actually really cool. I've shown it before, like some pictures of it. It's a giant book about like this big whenever it's open, and it's got really good illustrations. I think in the Ixotroidal video that I did on I think I put that on Florb. That one's pretty far out there, but I think I showed some clips from that book in there. But he wrote that book, and it's got a bunch of crazy stuff in that book about all sorts of stuff, esoteric. But in that book, he's got a whole thing about like contracts with demons, which is like really crazy part. And then the way he died, Manly P. Hall. Let me know in the chat if you guys are interested in what I'm saying right now, because this has nothing to do with NASA. Manly P. Hall, this dapper young man. Oops. Oh, he's got a busk. What do you got to do to get one of those made? Anyway, he's a 33 degree, and he's got some cool books. And he's so in Masonry, you've got the right hand and the left hand path, right? The white path, the black path, the light path, the dark path, and then you got the middle path, hidden path, whatever. He's got all these. This one here, that's not going to have any of the imagery in it because it's so cheap. The actual book that I got was like $500, and the originals of I'm glad to hear that you're interested, and I'm not just talking a bunch of shit that nobody cares about. This is the book. This, maybe you've seen that image before. If you have, maybe you've seen it around. Otherwise, I think I included that image in the video. I would show it to you right now, but it's like in the closet back. up, and we can do that in a different stream if we do a whole stream about Masonry. But anyway, in this book, there's a whole section where he talks about making contracts with demons, and in that contract, at the end of it, it talks about like until the end of my natural night, like you summon the demon, and then you bind the demon through a contract, and the contract is for your natural life. At the end of your natural life, the contract is broken and the demon is free to go continue what it is, but it's in service, like you're in service to each other until that type of thing. And I remember the first time I read that, I read at the end of my natural life, I read it and I just immediately go like, oh, you just gotta like murk the dude, then a contract is still valid. That's not the end of a natural life if somebody gets murked, right? Like, in my mind, that's a clear way to breach that. And then I find out, check this out. August 29th, 1990. Some sources say that his death remains an open mystery, right? Well, what sources say that his death was an open mystery? What is it? I want to see what the official cause of his death was. I think they say heart attack. Natural causes. So heart attack or something like that. But, however, allegations and speculation of foul play. His wife, I think it's this website. This is a whole website about how his wife, Manly's wife, says he was murdered. I don't know if you're allowed to say that word on YouTube anymore. YouTube's got such weird, and also people self-censor about stupid stuff. But anyway, this is a whole document where Manly's wife says that he was murked. I've read it before. He goes into this whole thing. He was being followed by a couple dudes and blah, blah. She left and then came back and found him gone. And crazy. Because I read his book and I was like, oh, clear cause, that like the way you keep that contract going is you just murk them. Then now they're in it, reincarnate, whatever, however it works. And then, yeah, I find out that Manly was murked, which is sad because Manly, his stuff online is honestly like pretty solid stuff. Familiar with Manly P. Holland Mason's 32nd, 33rd degree above 33rd. What degrees are above the 33rd? I've never even heard of that. Mr. Buzzy Buzz. Remember, this website here is the official Scottish Rite website. The first Mason on the moon. Excuse me. Pardon me. Buzz, Leroy, Gordo, John Cooper, another 33. Why does it not say Buzz's degree? Something else you need to know is like there's the Scottish Rite and then there's the what's the other one called? The other one's less important. And it's the one that they... What is the other one called? York Rite. There it is. York Rite. The York Rite is the one that's practiced more in Europe and less consequential. Is the Scottish Rite, which is the one that I learn about. And just so you know, just in case you ever see that image anywhere ever in your life, just note that is a Scottish Rite image, which you will see all over the place because this is a Masonic country. America is a Freemasonic country. I'm not trying to go like full on a Mason rabbit hole right now, but what's it called? The Freemason Memorial, DC. No, that's not the one. This one. What is that called? Anyway, there's this giant monument in DC that has the full Masonic logo right there. Oh, my head's blocking it. Man. The full Masonic logo, this giant mausoleum building. And of course, Washington was a third degree Mason. Father George. Hang on 1 second. Let me scale this back to fit. Fit the screen and scale it up just a little bit. There. Yeah, this country was founded on Freemasonry. So there's another 33rd degree. Who is that guy? Oklahoma, 27th, 5 Air Force. What did he do? Orbiting the Earth 22 times. Really, 22 times. Master Builder number 22. Gemini 5. Don Ellis. What? I want to find out. What degree was Buzz Aldrin? No. Come on, bro. Let's see if we can look up his lodge number and find his documents. That looks like it. We're going deep now. The real information. What? This is your website? Bro, this is the shittiest website. How many lists am I getting put on just for going to this website? Wow, this website is trash. Well, I guess we're not going to find out what degree he is. And does it say? Grandmaster, that's third degree, isn't it? To overseas lodge Masonic jurisdiction. He carried deputation on a famous from the land, brother Aldrin. Initiated, raised. He's also a member of York, right? Oh, and the shrine. Is it Shriners? Let's see. Is that a Shriners temple? You guys know about the Shriners? Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny we start with NASA and now we're into Freemasons? Yeah, the Shriners. He was a Shriner too. Wow, I didn't know. I did not know Buzz Aldrin was a Shriner. You guys know about the Shriners. The Shriners. This is their logo. That is their... And let me scale it up just a little bit. Right there. Right there. That's their symbol, which I'm sure you can see some similarities between that and a certain religion, Islam. I'm not saying they're connected. I'm just saying the symbols are similar. They wear these hats. These hats are Shriner hats. Now, the Shriners are fucking weird, bro. I don't know all the history of the Shriners, but I know some of their allegations. And let me just tell you a little story. So, last summer, I think, I was visiting my nieces and nephews. And I went to a grocery store nearby. And sitting out in front of the grocery store was a Shriner. Dude was old as dirt. I mean, old. Sitting in a chair, ringing a little bell. It was during winter. It was near winter time, I remember, because he had a big jacket on. And ringing a bell. And he had a sign saying he was raising money for disabled children to go to the circus. What? What? Bruh. Where are all these disabled kids that need to go to a circus? Like, who goes to a circus? And do you know about the circus? The circus... Wow, we are way off tangent right now. The circus is a Freemasonic institution. Not completely, but the Shrine Circus. Circuses in Freemasonry go way back. Way, way back. What is this? I need to pull up the image. Can we zoom in on that? Oh, come on, scroll over. Scroll! What? I gotta move my head. There we go. Look at this. Arabia Temple Shrine Circus. Walter P. Moore, General Chairman, November 2nd through the 11th, 1956. You got all the clowns. Have you guys been down the clown rabbit hole? That's, bro, we're getting way, we need to get back to NASA at some point. But the clowns is a whole nother rabbit hole that gets into Nephilim and all sorts of stuff. Crazy rabbit hole. But look at this. You got Shriner. And then all these people at the circus. Is that a little girl there? The Ringling Bro. Oh, come on, zoom back out. Zoom back out. Where's that? The Ringling Bros, greatest show on earth. Anyway, wait, hang on a second. The Ringling Bros will shut down the greatest show on earth this May after 146 years. This circus was touring for 146 years. We wanted to highlight the history of another famous touring circus still active today, the Shrine Circus. Wait, what? So that's okay. We're not doing this right now. We're not doing this right now. So yeah, Buzzy Buzz, Mr. Buzz was at least a third degree Mason and also a Shriner and part of York Rite. Don F. Elisil. Let's see, what is he? Just as a member of a lodge, so probably at least a third degree. Virgil Gus Grissom. James Visit Early. One. So there's 7 in that article. Official Masonic website. But yes, if you go down the astronauts rabbit hole, you will find Masonic connections. And so speaking, we were talking about the radiation belt, and then somehow got into that. But the radiation belt, because I checked to see if Don Pinnett was a Mason, which it doesn't say anything about him. But Okay. Sorry, that was a huge sidetrack. We're going to get... I had Masons later down the list, and we already got into them. So, Mr. Pennant here says that he would go back to the moon in a nanosecond, but the problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. And he says that
technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
We destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. Really? Really, nigga? Really? Really? You destroyed the technology to go to the moon? And the Van Halen radiation belt, they still don't know how to get through it. They say that's like the main challenge is how to get through the radiation belt, but they did it 55 years ago in a tinfoil spaceship. What? Anyway, okay, let's get into the origins of NASA, because the radiation belt, let's just Google it real quick. Van Allen radiation belts, how to get through. Let's see what comes up. Radiation belts are a zone of energetic charged particles trapped by Earth's magnetic field. To pass through them, spacecraft and astronauts rely on careful trajectory planning, shielding, and minimum exposure time. The Apollo missions, for example, avoided the most intense regions of the belts by traveling through thinner areas and passing through them quickly. The spacecraft's path was designed to minimize time spent in the belts, reducing radiation exposure. Additionally, the belts are not uniformly dense, and there are regions with lower radiation levels that can be navigated. The Apollo astronauts received a radiation dose comparable to a few CT scans, which was well within the safe limits. Modern spacecraft also use shielding and careful orbital maneuvers to navigate through the belts safely. So apparently they're saying that they can go through them, but I swear, maybe I haven't, but I'm pretty sure I've seen videos of astronauts or scientists talking about we can't get through them. This is one of the things about the internet. Sometimes you'll find a video and you don't save it, and then you can never find the video again. Alright, we're not going to go through all these. Let's see what BitChute says. Oops. You guys ever make it over to BitChute? Ooh, look at that. That's fun. Is it 1 L or 2 L's? Radiation belts. How do you spell it? 2 L's. Views. All right, that's 13. Let's see what this one says. Are you gonna hit me with an ad? No. Also, this clip, real quick, of Don Pennant, I have searched and searched and searched, and I cannot find what documentary this clip is from. I can't find it anywhere. I can only ever find this clip. If anybody knows where it's from, let me know, because I would honestly like to see the whole documentary, but I can't find it anywhere. And this clip, you have to like search very specifically for it to find it. All right, let's see what this guy says about the radiation belt, and then we'll move on to the origins of NASA, because
this idea of a layer of radiation that acts as an impenetrable barrier, it's called the Van Allen radiation belt, and
wow,
it's code for the firmament. Another thing is that this radiation belt was present for the Apollo missions. So how did they manage to make it through? Let's ask Apollo astronaut Alan Bean.
Yes, please.
Any ill effects from the Van Allen radiation belts?
No, now I'm not sure we went far enough out to encounter the Van Allen radiation belt. Maybe we did.
What?
Beginning
What?
at an altitude.
How is an astronaut saying he doesn't know if they went through, like, bro, how do you not, are they like just crew on a ship that and they have no knowledge of what they're doing? You'd think they'd be briefed about where they're going. If they're going into space, you'd think they'd know everything they're doing in space, right? That's a
1,000 miles and extending an additional 25,000 miles lay lethal bands of radiation called the Van Allen radiation belts. Every space mission in history with humans on board, from both the United States and Soviet Union, from the first in 1961 to the present, has been well below this deadly radiation field. Mercury, Gemini, Soyuz, Skylab, the Space Shuttle, all maintained altitudes well below 1,000 miles. All except Apollo.
I don't know the distance.
So they're saying the only missions that went through the radiation belt are the Apollo missions?
Distance to the Van Allen radiation belt. And if we did, it wasn't a problem. If we were going to encounter it, then we would have had to build the spacecraft and the spacesuit to not give humans a problem.
Does that, this is an honest question, let me know in the chat. Does that sound like a reasonable statement from an astronaut, what he just said there? Let me know in the chat.
You don't just build something and hope it works. You study to see what the threats are, the environment is, and then you say, how thick do I have to make the metal on the spacecraft so that going through this kind of radiation or these kind of meteoroids, it won't get hurt. And so then we build it that way.
The belts are 1,000 miles to 25,000 miles above the Earth.
Then we went right out through them.
No effects on your cells?
Didn't even know it. I don't think anybody, well, maybe somebody said you went through the radiation belt, but we didn't feel it inside, and we didn't get any, added radiation.
So you see, Team Apollo didn't know about this deadly radiation belt that would have killed them, so they weren't affected by.
Wait, so that guy was part of the, who is this guy, this astronaut? He's an Apollo astronaut?
Any ill effects from...
Let's ask Apollo astronaut Alan Bean.
Any...
Wait, so an Apollo astronaut didn't know about the Van Allen radiation belt? And just says, yeah, if we, if we went through it, then they would have built it. That's a crazy, am I tripping, or is that a wild thing for an Apollo astronaut to say? Okay, let's move on. Okay. Origins of NASA. So there's a few things about the NASA origins. Yeah, they're about all as sharp as Don. Yep, they need to hit the grinding wheel. Okay, are they going to go into the truth about this or not? Because if they're not going to go into the interesting things, then I got to tell you. Okay. Everybody knows about this. This is not new. This most likely is not new information to most people. Project Paperclip. You guys know about Project Paperclip. Operation Paperclip was secret intelligence program that brought over 1,600 German scientists and engineers and technicians after World War II. 45-59 harnessed German specific expertise to bolster U.S. military technology during the Cold War. This guy, Werner von Braun, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word on this platform. Von Braun's expertise in rocket technology was unmatched because Mr. Big H was real big into technology. Some say occult technology. Some say that the whole reason he invaded, I think it was Vienna, was to get the Spear of Destiny, which actually is in this card game. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it off rip, but there's like 1,000 cards. It's pretty far back in here. No, I'm not gonna be able to find it. But in the card game, there's this card called the Spear of Longingness. The Spear of Longingness, and it's talking about the Spear of Destiny. You know what the Spear of Destiny is? The Spear of Destiny is the spear that the Roman used to pierce the side of Jesus Christ. The Holy Lance. Why, thank you. Thank you, brother. It's the age of Aquarius. Is that what they say is the all the truth will be revealed in the age of Aquarius or something like that? But this lance here, the Holy Lance, the Spear of Destiny, is located in, where is it located? It's in Austria, but what's the city? Where? Where's it located? It's in a museum in Austria somewhere. Relics. Vienna. Okay, yeah, it is in Vienna. There, right there. So some people say that the whole reason Mr. Big H invaded Vienna was to get the Spear of Destiny, because they say that whoever has the Spear of Destiny, they cannot be stopped. And allegedly, just before they started losing the war, they lost the Spear of Destiny, the Holy Lance. Ooh, thunder. I don't know if you could hear that in the mic, but there was just some thunder. Now, is that true? Is that false? I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to prove that. But that is what some people say. Now, some people also say that this spear here, which is in Vienna now, which is said to be the Spear of Destiny, the one that pierced the side of Christ, is actually a replica, in that the real Spear of Destiny is held in Antarctica. Antarctica. Some people say the Spear of Destiny is actually in Antarctica, and that this one is a fake. Would you believe that? They also say, and I don't know if this is proven true or not, but that Mr. H, the painter, built underground bases in Antarctica as well. And other people say, which, okay, this might trip some of you all out. I don't know if you guys know about this. Have you guys heard about this place? Give me maps. I'm probably gonna have to go to Google for this. All right, Google, go, bring me to maps. Maps. Excuse me. I'm very burpy tonight. Come on. Load. Come on. There we go. Did you guys know about this? Anybody know about this? Let me know in the chat. 1 in the chat if you knew about this. 2 in the chat if you never knew about this. Did you know Admiral Byrd was also a Mason? Oh, it's raining now. Can you hear that? So this island here has this name. And I haven't done all the history on this this island here specifically, but I would assume the reason they say that it was named after that is because he probably funded an expedition, and expedition guys named a lot of things after the guys that funded them. That was one of the things that they got to do. But I'll talk about Antarctica at some point in a different stream. Is that rain like super loud? And I can't do anything about it, so if it is super loud, I deal with it, I guess. Sorry. I'll just get closer to the mic and turn down the gain a bit. That's what happens with the metal roof. But we'll go over some more things about Antarctica at some point, because Antarctica is super, super interesting. You've got the Ernest Shackleton's expedition to Antarctica, which is like one of the greatest expedition stories ever told. Really good books on it, and Shackleton is a total legend. But yeah, up there. So I think he got stuck here. Is this the Weddellton Bay? Weddellton Sea? The Weddell Sea, is that what it's called? Well, you learned something today about that island there. There's a lot of crazy stuff down in... Bro, it's raining out for sure. Why is the delay on the so much? I thought I'd had... Yeah, I've got an ultra low latency. Oh well. Anyway, we're not getting into that right now. What was I talking about? Oh yes. Big H, the Spirit of Longiness, and Werner von Braun. Crucial in the beginnings of NASA. But, and this is something many people do not know about. As if they knew about a lot of this stuff I've already said. I'm going to spell this dude's name wrong. Yeah. This gentleman right here. Have you ever heard this name? Aleister Crowley. If you've been down any of these rabbit holes, you've probably seen this photo before. Mr. Crowley here. He, of course, you can see right there. Bing, 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 bing. Now, Aleister Crowley, a British occultist known for his controversial beliefs. What were his controversial beliefs? Well, Aleister Crowley Church, Desert, California. Yes, the Agape Lodge. So, it's not actually a church, it's satanic. But they did some wild stuff out here in Agape Lodge, which is a crazy name for it, because if you know what agape means, it's a Greek word for love. In Greek, they have 3 words for love. like filio, like brotherly love, eros, sexual love, and agape, which is like kind of, I think, like fatherly love. But agape, yeah, it basically means love. It's like one of the forms of love. Not okay, nice. I'm glad the rain is a pleasant sounding. But they did some wild stuff, like eating doo-doo, all sorts of different orgiacal ceremonies, blood magic, sex magic, poo magic, all sorts of crazy stuff out there in the deserts of California. In that, they say he wasn't directly associated with it, but I'm trying to remember where I learned this information from. But he was out there a lot. And so, where was it? Oh, it says he was falsely linked to NASA. Okay. Well, now they're saying it's falsely linked. Saying it's falsely linked now, so I don't know what to do about that. And I can't remember where I found this information, but there's no factual basis for the claim that Crowley was involved in the founding of NASA. That's what it says. That's what it says. Here we go. Science history. Let's see what this one says. Oh, I might need a little bit of food here in a minute. I'm starting to get a little tired. Maybe I need more beer. Jack Parsons. Maybe that's who I'm thinking of. Let me search that. Jack Parsons was a... Okay. Jack Parsons. Okay, now... Oops, I didn't mean to open that up in a new thing. Now, if we look up Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley. I think they were buddy-buddy. And by buddy-buddy, I mean buddies. Yes. Okay, there we go. That's the connection. Okay. I knew... I was like, no way that I'm like totally off base on this. Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley had a significant relationship, with Crowley serving as a spiritual mentor to Parsons. Parsons was deeply influenced by Crowley's philosophy of thelema. I'm not going to go too deep into that right now. I don't actually know too much about that off the top of my head. I'd have to do some research and get back to you on that. Thanks, bro. Yeah, tiny house sailor. Drop it, esoteric knowledge. I'll keep up with the other things too. But whenever I've basically lived my whole adult life on the fringe of society. And whenever you live on the fringe of society, you start to explore the fringes. Whenever you explore the fringes, you start to find out some wild stuff about how things actually work. So, Aleister Crowley, right here, it says that he was a spiritual mentor to Parsons. I need to remember where I found out all this information, because there's a whole thing about Parsons was out in the desert and Crowley was out there, and Crowley had this lady, and they were doing, poo magic and all sorts of stuff, and Parsons had like some like he invented the rocket while he was out there or something like that, during one of these ceremonies or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. Principal founders of... It's a real thing, poo magic. I know it sounds crazy, but it's a real thing. Because is about the inversion. So Manly P. Hall actually talks about this in his book, Secret Teachings of All Ages. He talks about, which also, side note, I told you before about the contracts with demons that Manly lays out in the book. He literally writes one out for you. And in that contract, it's all bound by Jesus Christ. That's literally how he writes it. Is like, under the authority of Jesus Christ, like the demon has to be submissive, all that type of stuff. But it's in the book. And Manly actually talks about, I think it's in the same book, about how black magic, the way that it works is an inversion process. So evil in and of itself is completely powerless. It has no power. The only way that evil has power is by perverting and inverting the power of goodness and of love. And he lays this out in the book. So one of the reasons for the poo-poo magic is that it is a type of an affront to all that is beautiful and good. And so it's really foul stuff. But it's real. They do that. It's just like the blood magic. It's just like the, eating people and all that kind of stuff. Which that I have a whole theory on. I think you can say this on YouTube: cannibalism and the Eucharist. The Eucharist being the only divine way. And I know Christians would hate it if I say it like this. But that's the only correct way to partake in consuming human flesh, right? Because the Catholics believe in transubstantiation, and the Orthodox believe in, I think they call it the essence, the true essence. But that is the only holy way to participate in that. And the reason that cannibalism even has any power is because it's a perversion of the holy way. Otherwise there would be no power in it, because as Manly talks about, that the only way evil gets power is through inversion and perversion. I need to move myself back onto the side of the screen. That's a different story for a different day. But isn't that funny though? Look, we just go back. I'll just search it right here. Crowley, NASA. Look at this. You search this. Wait, that's a totally different response. Okay, right here. There is no evidence that Crowley himself was involved with NASA. No evidence. Although Jack Parsons, a pivotal figure in the development of rocketry and played a significant role in the founding of Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which later became an essential part of NASA, had a significant relationship with Crowley, serving as his spiritual mentor. But there is no evidence that Crowley himself was involved with NASA. No evidence. Really? Okay. Okay. We can do Aleister Crowley full deep dive in a different stream, because this one's getting, how long have I been live right now? 2 hours. Nice. Not bad for a first stream. You guys still enjoying the stream? All right. But basically, if you go into the origins of NASA, you find Paperclip, a secret project to bring over the genius scientist of Germany to help. And you find out Jack Parsons, who basically they say, oops, wrong one, basically developed rocketry, was butt buddies with Aleister Crowley, a poo magician and many other things, who was not directly associated with Agape Lodge, but he definitely was associated with it. Oh man, I really wish I could. That's the sign for Thelema. I really wish I could remember where I found that information from, because it was a huge rabbit hole. But anyway, we're gonna hit a few more points and then slowly wrap up this stream. And what other topics would you in a dead reckoning? Tell me in the chat, because I've got some in mind, but the best way to is like a group effort, because I'm sure you guys know some things that I don't know. You guys have little you can give me little breadcrumbs of something to look into, and then I can find it and all sorts of stuff. But let me know what other topics you think would be interesting in a Dead Reckoning episode. Do you want to see more on NASA? Do you want to see more on Aleister Crowley? Freemasons, I'll definitely do something on them at some point. Let's take a look at NASA symbolism. Where am I posted now? Well, right now I am in an undisclosed location for my own safety. No, the thing is that the videos being posted right now are a few years old, and so we get to. It's actually kind of cool, like. For blah 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 reasons, I didn't post them until now, but it's kind of cool because you get to see two different forms of the same person at once, right? You get to see what was happening a few years ago, and then you get to see where I am now. And so these live streams are going to kind of be completely separate from the videos. So I don't really want to get too much into exactly what has happened in my life over the last few years, because a lot of that will come out in the videos as I continue posting those. And so if you follow along, that'll be a logical process. So yeah, right now I'm in an undisclosed location. Let's take a look at a few of these symbols, and then we'll finish up with some space station glitches, because I'm starting to get a little bit tired. Bro, this search engine. I'm going to go to Google for this. Or let's see. What did it have? Operation High Jump and Dominic. I'm trying to remember which High Jump is, because there's also Operation Fishbowl. Let me just search those two real quick. High Jump. There's so many. It's hard to remember exactly like the names of everything. Antarctica. Is that what Byrd was connected? Yeah, okay. High Jump was Admiral Byrd. But Richard Byrd, I'm pretty sure is a Mason. Yeah, Freemason. In lodge number 1? Damn. Did it say what degree it was? Wow, they established lodge number 777. Wait, hang on. He was a founding member. Yeah, in Antarctica, they established lodge number 777. Whoa, I didn't know that. Whoa, that's cool. What degree was he, though? Master Mason, so that's 3rd degree. Let's see, can I... Active Freemason. Sojourners, number 3, Washington, Bird Award, Cane Lodge. Yeah. Oh, does it? Wow, he's got it. Whoa, he's got an upside down pentagram on his tombstone. Whoa. You guys know that the pentagram upside down like this is bad. That's basically Baphomet right there, right? You got the horns and the... Let me pull up a picture of Baphomet. Right here. So you got the horns and the ears and the chin. So you got the horns, the ears, and the chin. That's basically what the upside down pentagram. The right side up pentagram is actually a holy symbol. That's you. You are, and if you stand like this, you are a pentagram. So with the 1 point facing up is a holy symbol, but the 1 point facing down is a unholy symbol. And what is going on inside of that? What is that? Is that a person? 2 people? I don't know what that symbol is. Wow, he's got the cross on it and an upside down pentagram. That's crazy. Born on 1888. I didn't know that was his birthday. Interesting. Interesting indeed. And then what was the other one? Oh, Operation Dominic. Oh, that was the explosions, the nukes. You know, some people say they're fake, which that's a whole nother rabbit hole, and I don't know if they're real or fake. But the stuff they talk about is like, we've all seen. Well, let me just pull it up. Nuke testing videos. No. You know, we've all seen the one that's in Godzilla with the building.
Of the nuclear age.
You know, where the building gets completely obliterated, and it's like, well, how is the camera still there? And I would assume it's in like some sort of concrete bunker or something like that. But there's a whole section of people that say that they're completely fake, which I don't know about that. But 31 tests in the Pacific. What year is that? 58. Oh, so that's... Yeah, before going to the moon, 62. 1962, that's the same year that Kennedy gave that speech. Why 31 tests? Oh, I just got smoke in my eye. Okay. What was that? Oh, I was trying to go to Google. NASA Symbolism. Wow, learn how to spell, bro. Oh, I just got smoke in my eye. Symbols of NASA. There we go. So, some people say that this here is a snake tongue, right? And what is that? It's supposed to be Orion there. Another constellation. But what you may or may not know, and this is actually funny. I wonder if Google still says this, because I searched this a while ago and it said the dumbest thing. Does NASA mean to deceive in Hebrew? Look at this. Look at this. This is so crazy. No, NASA does not. While the Hebrew word does sound similar to NASA, Nasha, okay, it's different. What it used to say is that this word here, this Hebrew word, Nasha, did not mean to deceive in Hebrew, and it had a whole paragraph. I've got it in my archive somewhere. I'll find it at some point. And if you clicked the show more, because you've got this word, this word here, NASA, which if you look, these are the exact same letters. The only difference is this little dot. I think actually in the Illuminati video, I put it on screen. I didn't talk about it, but I think I put it on screen. The only difference is the placement of this dot right here, right? This one's on the third arm. This one's on the first arm. If it's on the first arm, it means to lift, to carry, to bear, or to take. If it's on the third dot, then it means to deceive, to beguile, or to lead astray. And this word right here is the word that is used for the serpent in the garden. I'm pretty sure that the serpent nashawed Eve into eating the fruit. And so it used to say, no, NASA doesn't mean to deceive, it means to lift, to carry. And then if you click show more, it said NASA also means to deceive. And you're like, bro, talk about deception. But yeah, Nasha means to deceive. NASA means to lift, to carry. This version of NASA means to travel. This version of NASA means she flees. Interesting. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. Let's look up. Let's see if this works on YouTube. Let's see what's on this one. Because this is something else a lot of people talk about, is all these glitches in the ISS streams.
Thank you very much again. Thank you for your time. Have a good flight and many more exciting experiments on the orbit. Thanks a lot.
Whoa. 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 Whoa.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes.
So you could say that's just a technical glitch. But the interesting part about it is it's mainly done in the outlines of the people, right? I mean, there's this little bit here that's glitching, a little bit here, but this whole sort, like, you can clearly see the outlines of the people, which is kind of like, why is it glitching just the people out? That's kind of strange.
That concludes the event.
Is there anything else in this one?
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Have you guys seen the stuff about, I don't even know what all this one is, but there's a whole thing about like black and white entities showing up in film and video. And some people say it's like Nephilim spirits, and it goes into the clowns and all that kind of stuff. Massive, massive rabbit hole there. We could do a whole episode on clowns. There's a few guys on YouTube that have talked about it, but let's see what this one does. Oh, this is where he grabs a wire. That one's not too suspicious because what they say is that on the ground they have like little rails that they hook their toes under, and so that right there to me looks like he just like stumbled and didn't get his foot under the hook. And that's what I mean is like some of the stuff people pull for evidence. It's like, bro, just use your brain. Like, that's not even good evidence. You're making us look bad. But there is one where the dude grabs the guy's harness. What? Oh, he's going around the wire. Is that what they're saying? I don't see how that one's like super controversial. Alright, this edit is shit, bro. What, bro? This edit is horrible. Let's go to BitChute. What? Am I spelling glitches wrong? No. Search NASA. I just want a compilation of... I don't want to do talking about it. Because there's one where the dude grabs a harness. Let's see this one.
We'll continue to do what it takes to turn science fiction into science fact.
Alright, where are the glitches? Ooh. Yep. Uh-huh. Here we are. Talk about NASA. Are they just a fast for not the lone? Go home. Don't roam. Here we go. On the dome. Off the dome. In the dome. Firmament. Terminant illness, that's what they got in the sheep brain. Insane in the membrane. Word. Where are the good edits? I mean, that one's an interesting one because it's just the hand that glitches out and you can see it glitch out around it. But a lot of these glitches, in my mind, are not even that suspicious. I want the one where the dude grabs the harness. That's the one I want to see. Debunked. Don't debunk me, bro. I'm trying to spew disinformation. Nah, man, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, bro. Vimeo. Odd TV. Is that a website or a guy? Oh yeah, you got this shirt. Oh yeah, there's his shirt. And pulled up by the harness. And there's also the ones with the hair where it just looks like straight up hairspray. The harness stuff to me is the most compelling of the evidence from this music is horrible. The harness stuff to me is the most compelling stuff of the ISS streams, because some people talk about, look, oh, they drop something in gravity, but it's like, if you're in zero gravity and you have a ball and you pinch the ball, you pushed force down, so of course it's going to go down. And yeah, this one with the hair, look at that, the hair is not even moving, like she just hairsprayed it like that. And I think this is the one where the guy grabs the guy's harness right here. Yeah, right there. Grabs the harness. I also wonder if I've also wondered if this is all harnesses and stuff like that, like if all this stuff is fake propaganda. I've wondered if they actually have them hanging upside down because their faces are always bloated and like a bunch of blood is going to it, and they say that's because they're in space, right? Zero gravity, so there's no gravity to pull the blood down, so the heart pumps more blood to the head because the gravity's not pulling it down. But if these are fake, then I've always wondered if they have them upside down. Is this it? No. Is he on Odd TV? Let's see, what do we got? Ooh, Planet Flat Earth, full documentary. Flat Earth. NASA fails. Let's see.
3rd, 2018, there was a major malfunction on what's called the International Space Station.
Okay.
In a video
Tell
on
me
NASA's
more.
YouTube channel called Space Station Crew Members Discuss Life in Space with the Media, the 3 astronauts, astronauts, all disappear simultaneously while the background layer of the ISS remains intact.
Yes.
Thank you very much again.
Yes, we've seen this one.
This actors ill and a description that of
What else
outer
you got?
space and NASA
Ooh.
very near there.
What else you got?
We've caught NASA too many times to count at this point. We catch them glitching.
See, that to me is not like smoking gun type of evidence. Like that type of glitch. I mean, it is odd, but you know, if they are in space streaming to Earth, it's not, you would expect there to be some sort of glitches, and considering everything else is stationary and he's the only thing moving, it's not that unbelievable to me. Like that type of thing right there to me is not like super compelling.
Walks outside the International Space Station. We can see air bubbles.
Oh, you've
rising
also
up.
got the
Can you touch on how there are air bubbles
the astronauts that refused to swear on the Bible that they stepped on the moon.
in space?
Can you be more specific? Air bubbles?
So yeah, like a lot of times during the footage, the NASA footage, you can see bubbles coming up out of the helmets or kind of from underneath you. How do you explain bubbles in space?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, and it just happens that actors train in an underwater tank.
What's this here?
Looks kind of.
You know, there's a website. Live Earth photos. Is it this one? There's a website that posts photos of Earth like 10 times a day or something like that. Is this the one? No, this isn't the one I'm thinking of, but that's obviously a CG render. But they say it's overlaid with real photos, right? That they're all stitched together. But obviously this is a mock-up, not a single photo. Where is it? I'm gonna go to Google. But another thing they talk about with the NASA Earth photos is that Earth Live photos is that they copy paste. They use the stamp feature on Photoshop, and they take the clouds and literally just stamp the cloud, so you have the exact same cloud formations repeated over and over, and they pass it off as a real photo. And that's one of the things that like super normies refuse to acknowledge, which makes the whole thing, that's not what I'm looking for, makes the whole thing more suspicious, because like it drives more people into even, you know, stranger things that aren't even like very logical. But like at least acknowledge the things that are proven fake. I can't find this website. Is it this one? Because if you do that, at least you're starting off on a basis of honesty. But if you just like refuse to acknowledge that type of stuff, it takes people and they start to go like, well, why are you not even acknowledging? That's not the website either. Why are you not even acknowledging that this is obviously a fake photo? This is obviously photoshopped, and you know NASA hasn't come out and said they photoshopped it, but use your eyes. Like, that's not natural. Let's see if it comes up on Google. NASA Earth Photoshop clouds. Yeah, here. Reddit. Where's the photo? Come on, bro. Where's the photo? You archived it? Let's see what is this? Oh, cool. 500 error. And that's something else. Whenever you start really deep diving on NASA, you start to find a lot of this where you get dead links. I was watching one documentary on BitChute a while ago, months and months ago, and there was this one guy. He was commenting on all sorts of different NASA videos on BitChute and just saying the same thing over and over and giving the same links and saying like, this video is shit, like here's a link proving it. And then you clicked on all these links and they're all dead links. Yeah, right here. Let me move my head. Oops. This one. Right here. That right there is obviously stamped. That is obviously stamped. That is obviously stamped. That is obviously stamped. That whole section is obviously stamped. That looks pretty obviously stamped, but and I'm not saying that like that right there, you know, might be a stamp, but also I don't know, you need like super high resolution. But that one there doesn't even look like it fits into the rest of the clouds there. But this type is more pretty clearly stamped. And these are things that I brought up to people who are like super normie, and they refuse to even acknowledge that this like exists. And it's like, bro, what, like, can we at least start from a place of honesty so we can move somewhere forward in the conversation? But some people, they just not interested in that. This like my friend that I told you about that I brought up the missing tapes, and he goes, yeah, but they did an investigation and they said that there was no evidence of malintent or malicious activity. And I was like, so it was an internal investigation by NASA, and like, who cares if they found no malintent? Like, they're missing. That's weird. And he goes, no, it's not weird. There's no proof of malintent. You're applying malice where there's no proof of any malice. And I was like, the fact that they're missing is the suspicious part, bro. The fact they don't exist is the suspicious part. And I asked him, I was like, bro, if the Epstein files just like up and went missing, and the government did an internal review to determine what happened to them, and they said that, well, they found that they just lost them and that there was no malintention or anything like that, you wouldn't find that even remotely suspicious? And he was like, no. If they did a review and said that there was no malintention, then no. And I was like, bruh, what? Like, what? Like, oh my God. Talk about being married to an idea. Okay. Well, I have one other thing here about the space shuttle, but I don't actually know too much about the space shuttle, so we'd have to investigate that together. And I'm starting to get a little bit tired. And I think we've had a good stream so far. One's in the chat. W's in the chat if you have enjoyed it, if you think it was a good stream. And yeah, let me know about any other topics. I don't know when next time I go live is. Just turn on the notifications or check the channel, and you'll see it when I go live. I don't even know what the next topic is going to be about. I'll figure that out when I do. But yeah, NASA is definitely suspicious. They have a lot of things that make it suspicious that a lot of people refuse to acknowledge. And did we land on the moon? Did we not land on the moon? I don't know. But if you look at the evidence, you find out that there actually is zero evidence that we landed on the moon. No original evidence. We just have third-hand broadcasting, which I don't know about in a court, but I'm pretty sure third-hand testimony does not stand up in court. Like, I'm pretty sure that is considered hearsay. So, did we go to the moon? Well, apparently it's all hearsay, and we haven't been there in over 50 years. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention about this report here from 2009 from NASA, right? The official NASA report about how they lost the tapes and they don't have them. At the end of it, it says, while current leaders can do nothing to reverse decisions made 40 years ago, they can redouble their efforts to make sure historically important, that's an understatement, recordings and paperwork find a permanent home within the National Archives, particularly now as they prepare to take the nation back to the moon. Particularly now as they prepare to take the nation back to the moon. This was written in 2009, and they were preparing to take the nation back to the moon. Sputnik was put in orbit in 1957. 13 years later, they landed on the moon. Boots on the moon. 13 years. 2009, we are preparing to take the nation back to the moon. It has been 16 years since they wrote this report. And when were we going to the moon? When are we going to the moon? Initially, Artemis 3 was planned for 2025, but it has been pushed back to 2026. Okay, and I'm pretty sure Artemis 3, they just want to go around it. They don't actually want to land on the moon. Let me look that up real quick. Artemis 3. Crewed Artemis 3 flight test, new capabilities, mission overview. Over the course of 30 days, Artemis 3 astronauts will travel to lunar orbit where 2 crew members... Oh, they were planning on going back boots on the ground to the moon. But that's been delayed. So, why was Artemis 3 delayed? NASA's mission to return humans to the moon has been delayed due to issues with the Orion spacecraft's heat shield and development of SpaceX's lunar lander. What is SpaceX? We didn't even get into SpaceX. I keep saying we're going to end this stream, and then I keep getting more things. All right, let's look this up. SpaceX lunar lander. Yeah, show it to me. Where is it? Show me the money. Render. That's real. Did you see that huge explosion that SpaceX just had the other week? This is the lander. Where's the lander, bro? One of the reasons I say I don't know if we've been to the moon, because there is one theory I think is plausible, that all the footage is faked, but they actually went, and that they encountered entities there that said, do not ever come back. I think that's plausible. There's a story about, I don't know the guy's name. If you guys know the name, tell me in the chat. There's a dude that was real big into remote viewing. He did remote viewing for the CIA, which, if you don't know, the CIA was heavily involved in remote viewing. And he has a story, which there's no way to prove this. It's remote viewing. It's astral projection. So there's literally zero way to prove this. It's just his story. But he says that he had a mission from the intelligence agency to project to the moon. And this guy, I can't remember the dude's name. Maybe I can find it on Google in a minute. But he had like a 60% accuracy of remote viewing. So what does that mean? That means, so say they would take this box and they would put something in this box that the dude had no idea what was in the box. And then they would place the box in a room. They would bring the guy in the room and they would have him astral project and go inside of the box and tell the people what was in the box. And he had an accuracy of 60%. So it's not like, hey, guess yes or no, and you get 60% right. It could be anything in that box. And he had an accuracy of 60%. There's a famous story where one time he projected, they were doing one of those box tests, and they go, okay, what's in the box? And he goes, nothing. It's just black. It's just black. And they opened up the box, and the light in the box had gone out. Crazy. But anyway, so this guy who, let's see if I can find his name real quick. Astral projection moon. Guy CIA. Oh, there's a whole. Oh, sweet. We can look into that in a second. Where's the guy though? Does anybody know the name of the guy I'm thinking of? All right, we'll look at this in a second. But he had a mission from the CIA, so he's sitting in this white room, whatever, with a director, and they tell him that, okay, you're going to astral project to the dark side of the moon, I think, to like a specific crater. And this guy goes there, goes into a meditate, astral projects, goes there, and he's saying, there's these structures, and there's lights, and he goes up to the structure, and he like peeks in the window or something like that, and he's like, there's entities, there's beings up here on the moon. And he's in his spirit body, right? He's in his astral body. And the beings stop and look out the window at him, at his astral body, which you cannot see in this physical plane. And they stop and look at him, and he tells the guy, he's in his deep meditative state. He's like, they're looking, they see me. And they look at each other, and they start talking to each other, the beings on the moon. And he's like, they see me, and they start going towards the window, and the director is like, come back right now. And he's like, they see me, they're here. They how do they know I'm here? And he's like, come. It comes back to his body, and the projector goes, you guys know that they're there, don't you? And the director got up, didn't say a word, and just left the room. And then I don't think that guy was ever used on. I can't remember the dude's name. And again, there's no way to prove that is true or false, unless you had government documents, which right here, let's see what this is. This is a astral projection, top secret. This is, can you see that? Yeah, CIA.gov. So this is an official document, telephone call from subject volunteers to attempt. When is this? Does it have a date on it? Released 2011. But where's the date of the actual paper? No, is it? Right there. 73. Okay, 1973. Unless that date is referring to something else. I've never seen that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats, with George Clooney. I heard about it. My mom said it was super boring, which go figure. But I never have watched it. Is it worth watching? Subject volunteered to attempt to locate a facility in USSR comparable to the underground installation previously described. Bro, the date's right there, October 8th, 73. Found it, gave its exact coordinates, not mentioned blank specifically. It sucks. Yeah, that's what I've heard about that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats. Isn't The Men Who Stare at Goats supposed to be like a satirical film, kind of making a mockery of the whole astral projection stuff, and making it seem like they never actually did it, type of thing? Like, what do they call it? Like a limited hangout, is that what they call it? But said it was in the Ural Mountains. Subject described external features, including helicopter pads, rail spur, and some miles away, large dish antennas. Subject said the antennas were used for intercepting downlink telemetry from U.S. satellites from Soviet Union. Yeah, the Hollywood effect. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. There was a there's a movie that I want to watch. It's a new Disney movie. It's got I think it's got Clooney in it as well. I just saw it on you guys ever watch the Mind Unveiled channel? That channel is crazy, bro. But he just put a video out about it, and it's all about the Chicago World's Fair. It's crazy. But I want to watch that movie and see what they talk about it. But basically they're saying that like the Chicago Fair was like a portal into a parallel reality, maybe like Hyperborea type of thing. I don't know. Double-blind experiment. Subject was fed the coordinates of a small Soviet-occupied island in the Indian Ocean. Redacted. The island did not show up on the map used by the experimenters. In fact, the latter assumed the subject was being targeted against open ocean as a test. Subject began drawing a large-scale map of the island, following its periphery. He soon ran off. His sheet of paper continued onto another sheet, and continued this process until several sheets had been filled in and the subject had returned to his starting point. When the pages were joined together, the result was an exact match, an absolute accurate topographical map of the island. Subject also described exactly what was going on the island. This is official CIA document right here, talking about dude thought he was astral projecting into the middle of the ocean and drew an accurate, 100% accurate map of an island that was not on the maps provided, which also makes me wonder about, you know, on Google Maps, if you, we'll just go real quick and show you. You probably know this, but no, I don't want that. So here we got the world, right? If we zoom in, you know, all the ocean is blacked out, right? Right, if you go here, you got the ocean, then everything else is blacked out. Which, you know, I'm sure they say is to conserve data because it's all just open ocean. But it makes you wonder, like, are there any islands out there in these blacked out areas that are redacted from our official maps? I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but it does make you wonder, right? Blacked out. Let's see, is there anything else interesting? How long is this thing? Oh, it's only 8 pages. Underground installation has occurred. Second visit to the underground installation. If I search him, is he Russian? Oops. Well, wait, no. Mathematician. Oh, he said Soviet. Russian Studies, Hamilton College. Hamilton. Okay. Doesn't say anything about him, but I assume those are real, because they're saying he's going to the Soviet installation. The name of the underground facility is Hayfork or Haystack. Other code words on papers and documents in the facility are Flytrap and Minerva. On the north wall of one room are a series of gray locked cabinets. Inside the cabinets are a number of folders marked with code words, including cue ball, 14 ball, 4 ball, 8 ball, and rack up. Outside of a cabinet is the word pool. Has only been with USAF security. I know him personally. Found nothing close in either rank or name. George R. Nash. Use code words, mythological designators, nicknames, voice radio call signs in the past but not since 1966. No record of current usage. A brief of new developments finding some objects. 24-hour performance. Huh. The contain coordinates the Ural Mountains, Indian Ocean. Well, I'm not gonna go through this whole thing and bore you with that, but did you know that there's a come on. There we go. Where is it? Bro, I've seen the document. I've literally seen the document. This is why you have to save stuff on your... There it is. Have you guys ever seen this before? CIA.gov. Bloodlines of the Illuminati. Who's this guy? We're so off base now. Not even, it has nothing to do with NASA. Oh, he wrote conspiracy literature. Pakistan. Number of books. But why does the CIA have it on their official website? Lost in the Titanic, that one. Also, if you go into any of the famous buildings in New York, the New York City Public Library or anything like that, you'll see this name all over the place. What else we got? Wait, where are the rest of them? Oh, I just saw something about Freemasonry. Fine. $170 times mentions Freemasonry. Holy cow. This is a super long document, though. But as I said, it's not written by the government, but it is on the government's official website in their official library, which I think is a little bit strange. But maybe it's nothing. I don't know. If you search him, just says he's a conspiracy writer, conspiracy theorist. Where's chapter 2 on the other people? Astor family. The family in Europe. Waldorf. You know, the Waldorf Astoria. Let's talk about Waldorf, Germany. Is it called the Waldorf Astoria? Yes, EDM knows. The black and gray. Which, by the way, if you're interested in this, you'll be interested in one of the videos, one of the regular travel videos I'll be posting here in a while. I don't know exactly how many videos out it is, but it's like an abandoned explore video. That's linked to some of this stuff. Linked to some of those people you just mentioned. Why does he not say the other names? Oh. Bundy. Everybody plays charter. Onassis. What else we got? Bundy. Collins. Like Phil Collins? Ooh, wait. Oh, Witchcraft Salem Witch Trials. the Todd branch of the Collins family. And you guys know that the royal family of England, they changed their last name. The Windsors. The DuPonts. But this is all just conspiracy theory, bro. Fun and games. Freeman from Dune. Also, what did you guys think about the Dune movies? Because I hate to be this guy, but I've turned into this guy. Where I read the book many times before the new movie with that skinny dude. What's his name? The new Hollywood. Isn't it crazy that the Hollywood stars of our age are all these like Oh. Let's see. It's not opening on my phone though. If I am live right now and you guys can see me, this is like super boring for you guys. But I don't want to just keep rambling if the stream is down. I think the stream's down. Welp. I'll give it a couple more minutes. See. But I think that might be the end of the stream. Welp. Okay. It says I still got 5 concurrent viewers. Alright, well. We'll end it here then. We'll end it here. Big love. I don't know if any of this is going through. If it's still live, put it in the live chat. Otherwise I'm going offline. And we'll pick this up another day.